welcome. Gallant Conversations. It's a little bit of a new look and feel. Brandy, you want to just kick us off and just tell us a little bit more about the inspiration behind the new look?
I don't know if it's an inspiration per se, but we had Sarah, one of our friends from Speaker Box, which is another B2B agency, and they specialize in podcasts. She came in and she just schooled us on kind of what made the most sense in terms of our setup. And of course, I'm one of those that says, take advice from the experts, listen to the experts. And so we kind of retooled everything, and it just made some sense because we like to have a lot of people. It's usually, we want to have not two, we want to have four sometimes, or three or four. And so this kind of is more conducive to that, more conversational. I think before we were.
That's helpful, being a gallant conversation, right?
Yes. Yeah. So just got some little sofas and painted the ceiling, the walls, and
we did like a time-lapse video of all that stuff. I think we came in on a weekend or what have you, and like painted up the walls, took out the soundproofing tiles, got these little couches, have a cool little rocket with what planet is this over here? With the lighting, you had a creative idea there.
Well, it was I changed it. You had it red, and I wanted it just orange because it seemed to look better. Like this was, it was just clashing. The people don't care about color theory, James, and it's really hurting my feelings.
Your fifis?
Yes, it's hurting my fifis. Like,
sorry to hear that.
And anyway, color theory matters, people. But anyway, so I didn't want the red with this, and I guess it's the sun. It's the sun.
Is it the sun? That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's got some texture on there too.
Yeah. So I want the magenta. Can we change it? Well, we can change it. No. Am I changing the wrong one?
Here,
yeah.
Okay, so we have our cool little handy.
That's what I wanted.
Is that what we want?
Yeah. So,
look at the center though.
What's that about? That's cool. Ooh. Okay.
Did it just go away?
No. But anyway, yeah, that kind of.
So, I mean, I guess with the new space, with the new look and feel, it provides a little bit more of a conversational kind of atmosphere or setting for our podcasts. And I mean, to be completely transparent, we've already recorded like 4 or 5, but we really wanted to just have an episode where we kind of introduce the new space, why we made the change. Thanks to Sarah and Speaker Box and her husband, or what have you, Ray. They do phenomenal work over here in the Houston area, and yonder, I guess.
Yonder.
Yeah, I mean, so what are kind of some of the episodes, I guess, to look forward to?
Okay, so by far my favorite episode that I've ever done, because it's one of my favorite conversations I've ever had, is with Ivan Kosic, and he is a gentleman. He's in his mid 80s, and he is the founder emeritus of GA Drilling. But the thing that's so fascinating is he started studying and wrote his PhD on neural systems, neural networks. Thank you. In the 1970s. And so just kind of learning a little bit more about that evolution. And then he was at the forefront of cybersecurity. And then now he's working to deliver the power necessary to deliver this kind of next wave of AI. So it's just to listen to a true Renaissance pioneer, or yes, a true pioneer in innovation. There are just so many people, just a handful, just a tiny bit of people that can speak to that level of experience, but then also impact. So that was pretty cool. You've had a few conversations here too.
Our buddy Seth with AI Free Cert.
Yes, another Renaissance person. Yeah, I mean, so that guy, he's been one of my dearest friends. Since I was in college, and he spent 20 years or something mission control and at NASA, and moving the robot, just doing all kinds of cool stuff at NASA, and then decided, I'm going to go to law school. So he goes to law school. He became an IP attorney because he was already an engineer, and it made sense. Was working full time at NASA. I got on law review at U of H. And then has written, I don't know how many books, and then just decided to launch a certification program that really enables people to showcase when their work is free of AI. So, not that he doesn't love AI, but it's just sort of that
being able to put the stamp of approval.
That stamp of approval, yes.
This is a human-created design, whether it's graphics, literary works, etc.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty cool. And then I guess a couple of others. Megan Crawford with Space.
Oh yes, brilliant.
Talking about some space stuff and kind of the inner workings of kind of the financial landscape and new asset classes that are coming out or should be kind of introduced to help support the industry and the ecosystem. And a good friend of the agency, Eric Sunby with TerraSpace, creating a space-based, I guess you could say, technology, but with terrestrial Earth-based application for mining. And he's fundraising and all that good stuff, I believe. I don't know. There might be a couple of others that we've already pre-recorded, so I guess.
Let's talk about Eric for a little while because, I think that it's so interesting. There's this kind of, I don't want to call it a trend, but there's something that's like in our orbit right now, and I think it's just so cool that we've got some, a little bit of not a little bit. You have quite a bit of understanding of space, and I feel comfortable, saying that I know a thing or two about the energy industry. And I think it's so fascinating that right now, just sort of the zeitgeist of kind of the clients that we're seeing really is around that transferable nature of their innovations.
Maybe
it's not ever dual use; it's a myriad of uses. So, but the thing that I think is so cool is that they don't build something for everything. They build something and have a beacon of inspiration that they're working towards. And then they're like, and I can use it for this, and I might be able to commercialize faster here. And my North Star is still here. Mm-hmm. So, for example, with Eric, he built this to be able to support mining on the lunar surface. Yeah. And so his whole thing is it needs to be a small footprint. It needs to use AI. It needs to use light lasers. It needs to do all this sort of stuff. And then it's like, okay, but essentially you're disrupting the core sampling market. You're doing all of these really interesting things on the lunar surface. What about Earth? Well, great, but that inspiration, and I want to there's a quote that a French general quoted, and then I heard Two Fish Fisher quote it quote it from him, and I've heard a couple of other people quote it as well, and I'm going to find it and we'll put it on the podcast, but it's something about there's no greater power than the soul, or there's no greater, catalyst for change or something like that than the human soul ignited. Mm-hmm. And so when I'm looking at, for example, GA drilling, right? They're obsessed with bringing geothermal to the market, and part of the pathway for commercialization for those guys are helping oil and gas companies to be more sustainable and drill more efficiently. And then we've got, some of our other clients in the space industry, and they have so many terrestrial applications, but that you have to have that North Star.
Yeah, and
to work hard enough.
And these are conversations I've been having too on the side, which interrelate with what you were kind of having to say. Is it's really interesting because geothermal, right? Mm-hmm. A lot of the O&G, oil and gas operators and so on and so forth, from my understanding, like there's no incentive for them to tap into the geothermal industry in respect to the R&D innovative concept of it, because they're just going to be focusing on what dollars make sense, in a sense in which, and currently.
No, that's incorrect.
Thought,
that's incorrect. There are plenty of oil and gas operators and service companies that are getting more and more involved. And
Baker Hughes is one that's been
Petrobras.
Yeah. But do you think it's harder to innovate within a larger enterprise? And you see this trend in which, like, let's say Hefe with Steve Grass, another one that we actually interviewed with Torsten.
Oh, yeah.
That was a great one, right? Where, he was with an oil and gas company. I forget which one off the top of my head. It's been a while since I interviewed. But, he went in and started Hefe. And, it seemed as if like there were limitations.
I think it's a case by case basis. I think some, and I'm not going to name names here, but some large service companies, large operators, large, just kind of the picks and the shovels, the hardware, and all of those sorts of components. A lot of those guys do a great job. Guys and girls do a great job of fostering innovation and this undercurrent of entrepreneurship and risk taking within these huge enterprises, but the vast majority of them do not. And so, they train people, they put them on a path through a great career, they enable them to see so many of the problems that can inspire them, but sometimes it's just hard to get the approvals necessary to get things done. And, it really depends on the cycle of the economy as well. Mm-hmm. Right. So when you have a little bit more cannon fodder, you can go do a few pet projects and stand up some, think tanks and accelerators and all of that sort of stuff. But I mean, it's easier to move faster in many instances when you're outside of those enterprises. And now, money helps too. So
that's super helpful.
Money helps too. Yeah. So it's kind of depends on how wild your idea is too.
Yeah, like the market fit and adaptability, I guess you could say.
The market fit and adaptability and what you're building off of in many instances. If it's so novel that there's not as many use cases for it, then but in the depth of your soul that it's going to work, then you may not be able to get it taken care of in an enterprise. But if you go off and do it, you can do it faster. So I don't know. It's really interesting. I don't think there's a particular.
Well, and I mean, like, again, like also, it's like a lot of the geothermal technologies are being developed outside of the oil and gas perspective, in respect to there isn't a need for oil and gas, or there wasn't a need for oil and gas to drill deeper.
There's always a need to drill deeper in more harsh environments. It's always a question of risk reward. Mm-hmm. I mean, and that's what I mean. Like if you're looking at perceived risk based on the past, and you're looking at reward based on future possibility, and sometimes those things don't align. If you're talking about an entire paradigm shift in terms of how a problem is solved, right? Mm-hmm. Just keep it as simple. If you're talking about an entire paradigm shift in terms of how a problem is solved, it's very difficult to calculate, success or failure or risk. But if you know, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, while we're introducing the new setup, the new space, mm-hmm. And talking about some of these pre-recorded pieces of episodes that are coming mm-hmm. Soon, as we get our legs back after, all this new configuration stuff. Mm-hmm. Maybe walk us through, because we've done this a lot recently, with a couple of clients that are fundraising. I'm not going to mention any names in particular, but, the messaging, the core messaging, they may be focused on the space industry, but, how do you shift that core messaging to support other industry, or kind of, revamp it, revitalize it to kind of have something fresh and new. And then the audience profiles and personas, and, how that flows from a blurb to a one pager to a presentation deck? Like, maybe just walk us through that a little bit.
Walk you through
just the craftsmanship of kind of, because like, yeah, it's easy to do a presentation deck, but like there's a lot more that may.
So it's not as much of a process as it is a lens. So I think that something that just automatically I'm just programmed to do. And by the way, if you want to learn to do it, my mentor Q, who's basically supported, I think, the 25% of the Fortune 100 company brands, he's building out a course. It's like 30 hours of listening to Q talk about brand strategy. And I will tell you, like, I don't think there's nobody in the city that knows as much. There's maybe 10 people, maybe five people that know as much about brand as he does. In the world. I am not joking.
He's not in Houston, right?
He's in Rome and in New York, so he comes back and forth. But he comes to Houston. He comes to see us sometimes. He's due for a visit. But and so I think, we get into so many nuances, and I get so impassioned about this. But I think people want to say, I need a particular message for this particular audience, and I need a particular message for this particular audience. I need a particular message for this particular audience. And that's fine, and that's great, and you do, because if, say, for example, I want somebody to think, when it's all said and done, of me as somebody that can add value, right? I'm going to present some nuances of that to this person differently, and this person differently, and this person differently. But the core from which all of those nuances fall is what your brand is. And I think the biggest challenge that people have is they jump into things and they don't do the very rigorous work that we call branding. And then they segment their messages out, but there's no cohesiveness, because what it needs to do is come and then there needs to be cohesion, and then it comes out and then can come back together. That's the pressure test, right? So cohesion, and then it comes from a root that truly does, kind of resonate across the board, because you want all of these different audiences to land at the same place. And I mean, there's a rigor to that, and there's a process to that. And it takes, some effort and some thought, but I can promise you that if you do that upfront work, all of that all those messaging tracks, all of the, all the things that you do from having conversations with people in different arenas to using AI, which you should be doing if you're a good steward, all of those things are going to be easier, more succinct, more relevant, and more, will generate more goodwill. It's the easiest thing you can do to add value to your company.
Well, then also, like that work, in my mind, it helps kind of filter and ease of access when you talk about the digital marketing component of it.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Like the paid advertising, the target demographic, because that's what you're doing with the audience profiles and personas and the messaging, right? You're identifying different people in which you're communicating with. Mm-hmm. They could be government, they could be commercial enterprise, they could be investors, they could be customers, clients, whatever. And that could be then repurposed for different types of paid ad campaigns of that nature.
Yeah, and it's really like, what do I want people to think about my company when I walk away, mm-hmm. and when they walk away and they go do their thing? Okay, at the highest level, what would I want across the board all of these people to think about my company? And it's not just do it. It's not just all this. Oh God, if I see another consumer brand example, anyway, I'm not going to get into it. But I mean, when people talk about they're just certain conversations that need to turn the page, and one of them is
share one of them. Come on.
Okay, I'll share several.
Just one.
Well, so I feel like I'm going to say this, and this might be controversial. I'm going to just say it. Okay. So last night I had the unique experience of taking my daughter. This is getting somewhere, I promise you. And I could do a whole podcast on this particular thing, but I took my daughter to see a movie, and the movie was Bjork's Cornucopia. Okay. And Bjork is just one of the most brilliant creative people that I think has been alive in several hundred years. And she's a master of her crafts, many crafts. She designs her own sets. She designs her own costumes. Of course, she collaborates with other people, but she arranges her own music,